When Russia invaded Ukraine, military planners sat with a plan that looked perfect on paper. 3 days to take Kiev, one of the most powerful tank armies in the world, and deep, genuine confidence that their air defenses would neutralize any threat from the sky. Things didn't go as planned, not because of an enemy fighter jet, not because of a missile that cost billions. Part of the reason was an unmanned aircraft that looks like an oversized model airplane, built by a company that had been dismissed as second-rate just years earlier. Its inventor had been shut out of Western defense technology by export restrictions and political decisions. So he decided to build it himself. That drone is called the Bayraktar TB2, and the story of how it helped devastate Russian convoys on open roads doesn't start in Ukraine. It starts years earlier, in a country the defense world had never taken seriously. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why a $2 million drone helped redefine modern warfare, and why Russia struggled to counter it when it mattered most. The Bayraktar story begins with Selçuk Bayraktar, a Turkish engineer with an MIT degree. In the early 2000s, he tried to acquire combat drone technology from the US and Israel. Both countries refused, citing export restrictions and technology embargoes. Turkey, the thinking went, shouldn't get access to that kind of capability. So the Bayraktar family built it themselves, through Baykar, a family-run company that grew into a serious industrial manufacturer. A drone from Turkey, cheaper than Western systems, without the high-end sensors of US models like the Predator or Reaper, that was considered second-tier tech. But the world got its first real preview of what this drone could do 2 years before Russia ever crossed into Ukraine, in the mountains of the South Caucasus. In the fall of 2020, Azerbaijan and Armenia went to war over Nagorno-Karabakh, a contested region both countries claimed. Armenia's military was built around Soviet-era doctrine: heavy armor, dug-in artillery, layered air defense. On paper, a modern, capable force. Azerbaijan, backed by Turkish military support, deployed fleets of Bayraktar TB2s against it. What followed shocked military observers worldwide. TB2s, alongside other precision-guided munitions, systematically picked apart Armenian tanks, air defense systems, and artillery positions, often streaming the footage almost in real time. Within weeks, Armenia had lost a staggering amount of its heavy military equipment, and the war ended in a decisive Azerbaijani victory. Military analysts started calling it one of the first conflicts where drones didn't just support ground forces, they arguably helped decide the outcome. Russia had every reason to take notice. Armenia was a close Russian ally, and Russian military observers were watching the same conflict unfold. Yet when Ukraine started buying TB2 drones in 2019 and continued through 2021, there was no real alarm in Moscow. Russian military doctrine relied on massive electronic warfare, a system designed to knock enemy drones out of the sky before they could pose a threat. Whatever lessons Moscow drew from Karabakh, they didn't translate into serious countermeasures before 2022. That confidence turned out to be one of the more expensive misjudgments of the war's opening phase. Technically speaking, the TB2 is no engineering marvel. It isn't fast, it isn't stealthy, it isn't heavily armed. On paper, it shouldn't be terrifying. It flies at roughly 130 kilometers per hour, can stay airborne for around 24 hours, and carries up to 4 laser-guided munitions, usually the MAML or MAMC type. Yet Russian crews quickly learned that hearing nothing overhead didn't mean they were safe. What makes the TB2 dangerous isn't raw performance, it's the combination of price, patience, and precision. A single unit costs somewhere around $1 to $2 million, a fraction of what a manned fighter jet or a Western high-end system costs. It can loiter at altitude, often out of range of portable air defense systems, and stream live video directly to ground troops. That means a commander could watch, in real time, how an enemy convoy was moving, and within minutes call in a precise strike without putting a single soldier at risk. This was exactly the model that worked in Karabakh, and it was the model Ukraine adopted from day one. During the chaotic opening weeks of the invasion, videos surfaced that went around the world. A TB2 tracking a Russian vehicle convoy on a country road. Seconds later, a precise hit, then another. The TB2 wasn't acting alone. The heaviest Russian losses came from javelins, artillery, mines, ambushes, and Russia's own logistics failures. But the TB2 played a key role in stopping those convoys, feeding the targeting data that made many of those strikes possible in the first place. Especially symbolic was the strike on a Russian landing ship in the port of Berdyansk early in the war, partly coordinated with TB2 reconnaissance. It was one of the largest Russian ship losses of the entire conflict. What became visible here wasn't a single wonder weapon, it was the collapse of an assumption. During those chaotic opening weeks, Russia struggled to counter the TB2 effectively, and Ukraine exploited that window aggressively. Later in the war, as Russian air defense adapted, a large number of TB2s were shot down, and their role diminished. Inside Ukraine, the drone became a pop culture phenomenon almost overnight. There was a song about it, T-shirts, memes. The Bayraktar wasn't just a weapon anymore. It was a symbol of resistance. Before the invasion, Russian military bloggers and state media had repeatedly portrayed the Turkish drones as overrated and technically inferior. That rhetoric quickly went quiet. Russia began adjusting its air defense and electronic warfare tactics, forming specialized units against slow-flying drones and changing how its convoys moved to reduce vulnerability to aerial reconnaissance. At the same time, global demand shifted. Countries like Poland, Lithuania, and Morocco ordered TB2 drones, proof that a defense industry once written off as second-rate had become one of the most sought-after drone exporters in the world. The real story here is bigger than a single drone. From the mountains of Karabakh to the highways of Ukraine and the later rise of cheap FPV drones on both sides of this same war, the TB2 became one of several proof points that the rules of warfare were shifting away from extremely expensive, highly complex systems and toward cheaper, mass-deployable tools that can still deliver decisive impact. History is full of weapons that experts laughed at, until the battlefield proved them wrong, not once, but twice. The Bayraktar TB2 didn't win either war on its own, but it showed the world, first in Karabakh and then in Ukraine, that the next military revolution wouldn't necessarily come from the biggest defense contractor. It could come from the country everyone underestimated. What do you think? Which technology gets laughed at next, before it changes everything? Drop it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, because next up, we're covering the next story you won't want to miss.